In the isolated town of Riverstone, Montana, 6 black SUVs rolled through the morning fog, heading straight for Silverpine Ranch. The cartel soldiers inside were calm, almost smug. Another ranch, another easy takeover. Just a woman with a few dogs. How hard could it be? But what they didn't know was that they were about to face something they'd never encountered. A war-hardened veteran with 3 wolf dogs trained to hunt in the deadliest terrain on Earth. Victoria Sullivan wasn't just breeding horses on her 100 acres of frozen land. She was hiding a secret that had the power to unravel the entire northern branch of the Los Angeles Cartel. The military taught her how to survive, but her wolf dogs, shaped in the fire of Afghanistan's mountains, taught her how to strike. Quick pause. Before we go on, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? And if you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss tomorrow's drop. As dawn spills gold over the Thunder Ridge Mountains, Victoria stands on her porch, a mug of coffee steaming in her hands. Her eyes scan the horizon. At her feet, 3 massive wolf dogs sit in flawless formation. Alpha, the white one, always alert. Beta, his grizzled second in command. And Delta, the youngest, leanest, but born with a fire no one could train out. "Let's do our morning sweep, boys," Victoria says calmly, her tone leaving no room for debate. The dogs move like shadows beside her, silent and focused. The ranch stretches out over 100 acres, bordered by Crystal Creek on one side and dense forest on the other. Most wouldn't notice how perfectly defensible it is. Victoria didn't choose this land by chance. At the first paddock, a stallion stamps the frozen ground. Freshly rescued, the scars across his flank tell stories of pain. Alpha sits still, sensing the horse's fear. Victoria places her hand gently on the fence. "Easy, Thunder. You're safe now." Then, an engine. Distant, but wrong. Alpha's ears twitch. Victoria doesn't move, but shifts just enough to use the morning light as cover while scanning the road. A black SUV creeps past, too slow to be random. "Getting bolder," she mutters. In the barn, her ranch hand, Jose, is already working. "Morning, Miss Sullivan. We had some visitors last night," he says. 2 guys, sharp suits. "Asking about you down at the diner." Victoria's face doesn't change, but her fingers brush the wolf pendant at her neck, a reflex. Afghanistan, 6 years ago, tracking drug runners through cold mountain passes. The same dogs at her side, younger, unproven, already exceptional. "Check all the fences today," she says calmly. "I want a full report, anything strange, no matter how small." Later, at the vet clinic, Dr. Jennifer Lee wraps Delta's healing leg. "Looks good," she says, then leans closer. "There's talk. Someone's offering big money for local land. Richard's place got 3 cash offers this week, way above asking." Victoria scratches behind Delta's ear. "Where are they from?" "Mexico," Jennifer whispers. "They say it's some investment group." "Los Angeles doesn't invest," Victoria replies. "They take." Just then, the clinic bell chimes. A man steps in, too polished for small-town Montana. His suit screams money, but his eyes say predator. Victoria recognizes the posture. He moves like someone trained to control every situation. "Good morning," he says smoothly. "I was hoping to speak with the owner of Silverpine Ranch." "You're looking at her." "Excellent. I represent a group of buyers interested in properties around here. We'd love to sit down, maybe over coffee." Delta growls low and deep. The man flinches, just slightly. Victoria lays a steady hand on the dog's head. "My ranch isn't for sale." He smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. "Everyone has a price, Miss Sullivan. My clients are very generous." "Then tell them to shop elsewhere. Riverstone doesn't welcome strangers looking to buy in." For a split second, the mask drops. His smile flickers. His tone sharpens. "You might want to rethink that. Markets shift. Accidents happen. Property values disappear." Victoria doesn't flinch. "Be careful threatening people in this town," she says, her voice quiet like distant thunder. Some of us bite back. The man leaves, but the warning hangs in the air like smoke. On the drive back to Silverpine, Victoria's already thinking 3 moves ahead, because she knows this wasn't a friendly offer. This was a first move, and they've just picked the wrong woman to cross. On her way back to the ranch, Victoria takes the long way, purposefully. She notes 2 more black SUVs parked at key spots around Riverstone, watching, waiting. This wasn't surveillance, it was chess, and she knew the opening moves by heart. When she finally pulls into the drive, Sheriff Mark Thompson is already waiting, arms crossed, jaw tight. "Got reports of armed men up on the old logging roads last night," he says without a hello. "Found shell casings this morning. They're getting closer." Victoria watches Alpha pacing the fence line, ears alert. "They'll start with intimidation," she says, "then escalate. That's how cartels operate." Mark sighs. "This isn't Afghanistan, Tori. I've got 3 deputies and a town full of civilians to protect." She doesn't hesitate. "No, it's not Afghanistan," she replies. "It's home. That makes it worth fighting for." As the sun sets, the sky above Thunder Ridge glows blood red. Victoria stands on her porch, watching her wolf dog sweep the perimeter in silence. Far off, the lights of Riverstone twinkle like stars scattered across the earth. This land, her land. The cartel thinks they've found an easy target, just another rancher, just another woman. They have no idea. They don't know about the years she spent chasing terrorists through mountain passes, or that her wolf dogs were trained for war. They're not guarding land. They're guarding everything that matters. Let them come. She's ready. The next morning, before the sun has even broken over Thunder Ridge, Victoria catches movement near the fence line. Through her binoculars, she spots 3 men poking at the barriers, trying to look casual. But their clean boots and designer clothes scream, "Outsider." Alpha growls low beside her. "Not yet," she whispers, scratching behind his ears. "Let's see what they're after." The men don't carry guns. They carry expensive cameras. Surveyors. Not soldiers. They're mapping weaknesses, not charging in. Victoria smirks. Let them waste their time. The real defenses aren't visible from the road. Later that morning at the Riverstone diner, Anita sets Victoria's breakfast on the counter and nods subtly toward the street. "They've been parked there since dawn," she says quietly, watching everyone who walks in. Victoria doesn't even glance up. "Word spreading?" Anita nods. "Maria at the bank says they're offering cash for properties across the county." "And people?" "The Richards sold. The Hendersons, too. Hard to say no when the money's that good." Anita's hand trembles as she pours coffee. "My cousin in Texas. Same thing happened. First came the offers, then the accidents." Victoria's phone buzzes. A message from Jose. More visitors. Back of the property. 4 men, armed. They were moving faster than expected. Then the diner's bell chimes. Gabriel Moreno walks in like he owns the place. Impeccably dressed, flanked by 2 bodyguards who can't quite hide the guns tucked under their cheap jackets. The room goes quiet. He smiles as if he's greeting an old friend. "Miss Sullivan," he says, smooth as silk. "What a pleasure to finally meet you. May I?" Victoria gestures to the empty seat across from her. Under the table, Alpha adjusts position, out of sight but ready to strike. "You're a long way from San Luis," she says evenly. He blinks, just once. "You're well informed." "I make it my job to know who's threatening my neighbors," he chuckles. "Threatening? No. We're here to bring opportunity, progress. The modern world is arriving, whether this town likes it or not." "Progress doesn't usually show up with armed escorts," Victoria replies. "The world's dangerous," he says. "Surely with your background you understand." He slides a folder across the table. "I have an offer, one that might change your mind." She doesn't even look at it. Not interested. "You haven't even seen the number. Some things aren't for sale." Gabriel leans forward, the smile fades. "Everything is for sale. The only question is whether it's a smooth transaction or a messy one." Her mind flashes. Afghanistan, 2018. The Hindu Kush, a cartel convoy. 2 men lost. A similar offer. The same exact words. Only that time, the wolves had their revenge. Victoria's voice drops into that quiet, commanding tone that made men in uniform snap to attention. Silver Pine Ranch is not for sale. Riverstone is not for sale. Walk away while you still can. Gabriel stands, cold now, calculating. You know what they call me back home? El negociador, the negotiator, because I always start with friendly conversation. Then he leans in, and his voice hardens. But I have other names too. You've got 24 hours. He walks out. A moment later, Sheriff Thompson slides into the seat he left behind. That went well, he mutters. They'll try to isolate the ranch next, Victoria says, her gaze fixed. Cut the phones, block the roads. Scare off my workers. This isn't some mountain raid, Tori. This is a cartel. They've got money, connections, power. She takes a slow sip of her coffee. So do I. They'll come at you from angles you can't defend, Sheriff Thompson warned. Victoria didn't blink. That's why I'm not defending, she said quietly, finally opening the folder Gabriel had left behind. Her eyes scanned the pages, coordinates, names, timelines. Then she smiled. I'm hunting! Back at the ranch, her father, Patrick, retired Marine, stoic as ever, sat on the porch with a rifle across his lap. Beta and Delta moved in synchronized silence, patrolling the tree line with eerie precision. 3 more scouts this morning, he said, not looking up. They're mapping lines of sight to the house. Smart, not reckless. Victoria joined him, accepting the coffee he handed her. They're not just thugs anymore, she said. This is a professional cartel now. Military training, corporate structure. Patrick studied her face. You've got that look again. What look? The one you had before Kandahar, when everyone said pull back and you saw what no one else did. She looked out at the mountains glowing gold under the rising sun. They think they're hunting a rancher, she said, but they're walking into a wolf den. And civilians? He asked, concern flickering in his voice. Already handled, she replied. Sheriff Thompson's quietly moving out the most vulnerable. Doctor, Lee's setting up a field clinic in the old church basement. Jose's securing the livestock and prepping escape routes. Patrick nodded with pride. You've been planning this since the first scout crossed into the county. She checked her watch. They'll make their first real move tonight. Spook the horses. Maybe start a small fire. Test our response time. And you're just gonna let them? Exactly, she said, showing him the property maps on her phone. Because while they're distracted by the ranch, we'll be hunting their hunters. Patrick grinned. Just like old times. As the sun dipped behind the Thunder Ridge peaks, Victoria gathered her core team in the barn. Sheriff Thompson, Dr. Lee, Jose, her father. They expect fear, she said, her voice low and focused. They expect isolation. That's how they break communities, by making everyone feel alone. She looked each person in the eye. But we're not alone. And by the time they realize that, it'll be too late. Darkness settled over Riverstone. Lights in town flicked off one by one, curtains drawn, doors locked. Black SUVs cruised the streets like sharks scenting blood. But at Silver Pine Ranch, 3 wolf dogs took their positions like sentries of war. And inside the house, now more fortress than home, a former Special Forces captain was ready, because this time the hunt was hers. Quick note before we continue. If you've made it this far, you're clearly loving the story. Show us some love back. Subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep stories like this alive. Now back to it. Midnight. Montana becomes a maze of shadows and frost. Victoria scans the perimeter through night vision binoculars. 4 figures breach the south fence line, right on schedule. Alpha and Beta lie beside her, still as stone. Delta waits near the stables with Jose. Sheriff, you seeing this? She whispers into her radio. 3 more from the east, comes Thompson's reply. Just like you predicted. The intruders move with cold precision, tight formation, hand signals, minimal sound. Trained operators, not amateurs. One of them carries incendiary gear. Their plan is clear. Start a fire, make it look like an accident, then disappear. Victoria's mind flashes back. Afghanistan, 2018. Same setup, same tactics. But this time, it's not just a mission. It's personal. This is her home. Miss Sullivan, Jose whispers over the comms. They're near the fuel storage. Delta's ready. Hold position, she says. Let them feel comfortable. Through her binoculars, she spots a fifth figure emerging from one of the SUVs. It's Marina Moreno, Gabriel's sister, and the cartel's financial brain. She's overseeing the op herself. Interesting, Victoria mutters. I want them all thinking they've got the upper hand. Because that's when they slip. The intruders move into the fuel storage zone. One kneels, placing devices. The others hold perimeter. They're focused, sharp, but they've made one fatal mistake. They didn't look up. On the high ground above, Victoria and her wolves wait like ghosts. She nods to Jose. Delta's howl splits the silence like a blade through cloth, ancient, primal, bone deep. The intruders freeze. Then, click. Every light on the ranch blazes on at once. The team is blinded, exposed, vulnerable. Alpha and Beta launch, not to attack, but to control. They sweep through the darkness like phantoms, forcing the intruders into open space. No teeth, no blood, just presence, fear. Sheriff Thompson's voice booms from a megaphone, cutting through the chaos. Hands where we can see them! You are trespassing on private property! Panic sets in. On one side, law enforcement. On the other, wolves. And somewhere in between, a hunter they never even saw coming. Stand down! Marina Moreno's voice cuts clean through the chaos. Everyone, back to the vehicles, now! Through her scope, Victoria watches as the intruders retreat. No panic, no scrambling, controlled and efficient. Marina meets her eyes across the distance. There's no anger, only a small, almost respectful nod before she steps into the SUV and disappears into the night. Once the cartel convoys are gone, Victoria joins Thompson and Jose near the fuel storage. Thompson's already bagging the incendiary devices. They'll be back, he mutters. Of course they will, Victoria replies, crouching to examine the claw marks Alpha left in the dirt. Intentional, deliberate, messages, written in a language only hunters understand. But now they know, this won't be easy. Jose's hands tremble slightly as he runs them along Delta's back. Same devices they used on my family's ranch in Texas, he says. Different name, same cartel. Victoria places a firm hand on his shoulder. Tell me. He swallows hard. 3 years ago, Los Aguilas wanted our water rights. My father refused to sell. The fire was ruled an accident. But we all knew. Is that why you came to Montana? I thought I could escape, he says, meeting her gaze. Start fresh, but you're not running, are you? No. Victoria watches her wolves patrol the snowy field. I'm finishing what I started in Afghanistan. These cartels think borders protect them, think money makes them untouchable, but they've never gone up against a wolf pack. Thompson nods. And they've never faced someone like you. As dawn creeps in, Victoria reviews security footage with her father. They pause on a still frame of Marina Moreno. She's the real power, Patrick observes. Gabriel's just the front. She's the brain. She's also our way in, Victoria says, pointing to Marina's laptop. Her files will have everything, financial records, bribes, fake contracts. But digital evidence isn't enough. You'll need someone on the inside. Victoria pulls out a folder and hands it to him. That's where Jose comes in. Patrick flips through it. You trust him? They killed his family, she says quietly. Took everything from him. Trust isn't about loyalty anymore, it's about motivation. Meanwhile, in town, Jennifer Lee is already treating the early rush of patients at her makeshift clinic when Marina Moreno walks in, this time dressed in jeans and a vest, playing the role of small-town investor. I heard you're the best veterinarian in the county, Marina says with a smile. We're acquiring several ranches in the area. We'll need quality care for the livestock. She slides a pristine business card across the counter. I'd like to discuss a contract. Excellent terms. Jennifer takes the card. Calm but cautious. I'll think about it. Don't think too long, Marina replies. Change is coming to Riverstone. It's better to be on the right side of it. The second Marina leaves, Jennifer calls Victoria. They're trying to buy everyone, she reports. The bank, the feed store, even the local newspaper. Good, Victoria answers. Let them think it's working. The more they connect, the more evidence we gather. Jennifer's voice tightens. Just be careful. I've seen what the cartel leaves behind in emergency rooms. It's not clean. Victoria watches Alpha follow a deer's trail across the frost. That's what they count on, fear. But they've never faced a pack like ours. The sun climbs higher, but there's no rest for the hunters. Because last night was only the beginning, the cartel will escalate. They have to. Their entire northern operation depends on controlling Riverstone. Let them come. The wolves are waiting. By morning, their strategy shifts. The Riverstone Bank mysteriously freezes several ranch accounts, including Victoria's. At the feed store, regular suppliers suddenly stop delivering. The local garage? Too busy to service vehicles. The message is clear. This is siege warfare, cartel style. Victoria sips coffee in Anita's diner, quietly observing how the town's changing. Empty tables, quiet conversations. Eyes that used to greet her now glance away. Your usuals on the house, Anita says, setting down the mug. Her voice is shaky. They got to me too. Health inspector showed up yesterday, said I had a dozen violations. Said he'd shut me down unless I partnered with them. Victoria studies the man through the window. Shiny watch, jacket too tight around a concealed weapon. Did you sign? Not yet. Anita's voice drops. But my daughter's in college. This diner pays her tuition. Before Victoria can respond, Marina walks in. Gone is the city CEO. Now she's just another friendly face in ranch wear. Mrs. Ramirez, Marina says warmly, have you had a chance to consider our offer? The deadline's approaching. I need more time, Anita replies cautiously. Marina's smile never reaches her eyes. Unfortunately, time is a luxury. The health inspector returns tomorrow. Victoria steps in between them. Interesting tactic, she says. Subtler than burning things down. Monsieur Sullivan, Marina replies, calm but condescending. Still fighting the inevitable? She gestures at the diner. Look around. The town's already choosing sides. Are they? Victoria says. Or are they just waiting to see who wins? For the first time, Marina's mask flickers. There won't be a contest, she says, voice icy. My brother liked drama. I prefer efficiency. We acquire assets, legally, quietly, permanently. What's so legitimate about threatening people's livelihoods? Victoria asks, her voice steady. Marina steps closer, her tone sharpened. Says the woman who hunted men through mountain passes. Yes, we know about Afghanistan, the missions your government won't acknowledge. She leans in. Tell me, Victoria, what's the difference between your violence and ours? Victoria doesn't flinch. Her reply cuts like a blade. The difference? She says. I protect people from predators like you, and I still do. Suddenly, a commotion outside draws Victoria's eye. Through the window, she spots Jose standing face to face with Jorge Soto, one of Gabriel Moreno's enforcers. 2 more cartel soldiers flank him from behind. Victoria turns to Marina. Excuse me, your people are about to make a mistake. She exits the diner with quiet resolve. Alpha materializes at her side like smoke. Jose stands firm as Jorge snarls inches from his face. You were told to stay away from the bank. Mr. Moreno's patience has limits. The bank's public property, Jose replies coolly. And you don't own this town. Not yet. George grabs at him, but doesn't get far. Alpha growls low, a deep, guttural warning that freezes everyone mid-motion. Victoria steps between them. Back off, George sneers. Or what? You'll sick your mud on me? That's assault with a deadly weapon. Alpha's not a dog, Victoria replies calmly. He's a trained military asset, and he doesn't attack unless I give the command. Her smile sharpens. Want to test his response time? Jorge hesitates, then slowly steps back, trying to preserve his pride. This isn't over. No, Victoria says. It's just beginning. Once the cartel men leave, Jose turns to her. You were right. They're watching the bank. I got what we needed. He hands her a phone. Clone data from Marina's laptop during the confrontation. Back at the ranch, Victoria, Sheriff Thompson, and Patrick comb through the data. Financial records, Shell companies, property transfers, offshore accounts. Patrick frowns. This isn't just drug routes. They're laying a foundation for something bigger. They're building a corridor, Thompson adds. From Mexico to Canada, using ranches as legal fronts. And they're doing it clean, Victoria says. No trails, no bodies, just business deals. Patrick nods. She's modernizing the cartel. Old school operations are dying. Marina's turning it into a corporate empire. An empire built on blood money, Thompson growls. I've got dead bodies in 3 counties that prove it. Victoria's phone buzzes. A message from Dr. Lee. Need to meet. Something you should see. At the veterinary clinic, Jennifer leads her to the back room and opens her tablet. Look at these shipping manifests, she says, swiping through livestock records, cattle being moved north. But the numbers don't match the inspection logs. Victoria narrows her eyes. They're using the ranches for cover, shipping drugs disguised as livestock. That's not all. Jennifer pulls up another set of files. These medical supplies they want me to order, some are restricted pharmaceuticals, others are raw materials used in drug labs. They're not just smuggling, Victoria realizes. They're manufacturing, building a full supply chain. Jennifer's hands tremble slightly. They offered to pay off my student loans, all of it. Said all I had to do was look the other way. What did you tell them? I said I needed time to think, she says. The debt's crushing me, but I took an oath to heal, not hurt. Victoria rests a hand on her shoulder. Keep playing along. Let them think you're considering it. We need more time. Night falls over Riverstone. Back at the ranch, Victoria updates her intel wall. Strings of photos, maps, documents, connections. The web is growing clearer. They're not just trying to take our town, she tells her wolves. They're building an empire. One signature, one threat, one bribe at a time. Alpha watches her with sharp, knowing eyes. But empires, she says, pinning Marina's photo in the center, they all have weaknesses. Her phone rings. Sheriff Thompson. Tori, we've got trouble. Richard's place is on fire. Before the call even ends, the wolves are already moving. The hunt isn't over, it's escalating. By the time Victoria arrives, flames are pouring from the old barn. Deputies work to keep the crowd back. The fire is racing toward the main house. Richard's family? She asks. Got out in time, Thompson says. Anonymous tip came in just before the fire started. Victoria's jaw tightens. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore. Across the road, Gabriel Moreno watches from inside his SUV. The orange fire reflects in his eyes, and so does satisfaction. This is a message, Victoria says. Beta and Delta fan out to circle the property while Alpha stays close. His nose twitches. He catches something. Victoria follows. Behind the barn, hidden from view, they find Jorge Soto, planting gas cans, running wire, staging the scene to look like an accident. Victoria raises her radio. Sheriff, send backup. We've got our arsonist. And just like that, the Empire's mask of legitimacy begins to crack. In the town of Riverstone, Montana, what started as a subtle cartel infiltration through fake investments and charity soon escalated into a full-blown covert war. At the center of it all stood Victoria, a former Special Forces operative and ranch owner, with her trained wolf dogs and a community slowly waking up to the truth. The cartel, led by Marina Moreno and backed by her brother Gabriel, tried to take Riverstone through fear, money, and influence. But their perfect corporate cover cracked when Victoria and her team uncovered drug shipments hidden in livestock and illegal operations masked as medical supply chains. As federal agents closed in, Marina's operation crumbled, but the threat didn't end. Eduardo Vergara, an old-school cartel boss with political connections and a clean public image, stepped in. He used generational wealth, polished charities, and quiet influence to rebuild control. But Victoria had adapted. With her wolves, she tracked money trails instead of footsteps, boardroom moves instead of armed men. Then came Marcus, Eduardo's reckless son. Impatient and arrogant, Marcus threw years of careful corruption into chaos. He made the family's crimes obvious. He expanded too fast, ordered illegal shipments, and tried to crush opposition by force. That pride became the cartel's downfall. Victoria used his recklessness against him. She let father and son clash, exposing their entire empire in the process. While wolves hunted through snow-covered valleys, federal agents moved in. The Vergaras were arrested. Their empire, built over 3 generations, collapsed. But victory wasn't just about taking down criminals. It was about rebuilding. Riverstone's people rejected corruption, stood together, and turned once tainted businesses into honest ones. The wolves still patrol, not for enemies now, but to protect peace, hard-won. And when the cartel tried to return, this time with guns and soldiers, Riverstone was ready. They didn't just survive, they became unbreakable, because some places can't be bought, bribed, or broken. Some are protected by something stronger than power, loyalty, community, and wolves who never stop watching.